What's up, fight fans? This is Johnny. Welcome to the live stream. Happy 4th of July to my American friends and family. It's Friday afternoon in America, the 4th. I already experienced the 4th of July here in Australia. I'm living in the future. It is my Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. If you're new to the channel, like this live stream, subscribe. Also, hit the bell notification button. I do live streams on the daily. I do fight predictions, analysis, and breakdowns. If you like the live streams, you'll find that playlist, Johnny Says Boxing. They're all uploaded every week. If you like the analysis, prediction, and breakdowns, that's under the Stats Don't Lie Fight Predictions playlist. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on tomorrow. Not a huge week in boxing, but there's fights. And we got tomorrow in the UK. These fights usually happen 3 a.m. my time. I'm not quite sure when you guys in America get to see them. So the two fights I featured on the fight prediction playlist, the main and the co-main, Catterall versus Eubank in the main, Cordina versus Gonzalez in the co-main. All week I've been kind of seeking out and searching the best prop bets, and I think I found another one. So I've already bet on these two prop bets. I'm going to share them with you. Like I said, I'm not messing with the undercard. I'm not messing with the prelims. I'm doing a little bit different strategy this week in terms of, sometimes I could get big-eyed and have action on every single fight. Not this week. I'm just focusing on those two fights. And on one of the fights, I'm focusing on not an outcome. So this is another style of betting that I know some of the guys who make a lot of money in some of these sort of like either one-sided money line odds fights or even 50-50 fights, rather than picking an outright winner, there's better odds if you pick sort of like a knockdown market or a method of victory market. So that's what I found. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I bet on these fights. We could get into that. There's actually a lot going on in boxing. This is a huge month. This weekend is kind of the calm before the storm in regards to all the huge matchups that we're going to be covering on the channel. A lot of 50-50 fights, a lot of fights that are on the undercard of other cards that could be the main event in their own right. So it's going to be an exciting, probably stressful month for the bettors. Rando Light in the house. As you guys are checking in, let me know where you're checking in from. I know, it's an odd time because it's a holiday. It's the 4th. A lot of you guys are probably out drinking if you guys are into that partying. When I was younger in my 20s, the 4th of July was always a shit show in the best possible way for me, especially in my 20s when I lived in Long Beach, California. I lived in this neighborhood that every house would be open to everyone, and it was just chaos. The punch prop, Mar the Prince. You know what? I think so. When you're looking, I think this is a good opportunity to experiment with that punch prop for the Eubank Catterall fight. If you look at both guys, how they fight, and if you don't want to pick a winner, on one of my parlays I have Jack winning. But to answer your question, the punch prop, because I know Bet365 offers these punch props, I would pick Jack Catterall to land more punches, but Harlem Eubank to throw more punches. And that's strictly based off of how they box. Eubank is going to be the more busier fighter, traditionally more volume. Catterall is the more accurate puncher. He likes to pick his shots more. He's not really a huge volume guy. So if you could do those props, I'm not quite sure if they even allow you to put it on the same ticket, but I'd look at those odds if I were you. I think there's good value there. Haney and Hitchens are perfect. Yeah, exactly. So that's something to think about, more the Prince. And I wonder if the bookies who offer those prop bets, are they up to date? You know what I'm saying? Do they know these things that we know about the styles? Eubank got more levels to him. Cody Official, what's up, buddy? Are you saying Eubank has more levels than him to show us? Or are you saying Eubank has more tools in his bag? Because if you feel he has more tools in his bag, I disagree with you. I don't think he does. If he has more levels to show us, meaning that he's still evolving as a fighter, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think Harlem is a guy that each time I see him fight, he levels up a bit more. And I don't think he's a finished product. Even though he's in his 30s now, he just hasn't had the matchups, the resume. This is his fight in terms of this is the opponent he's wanted. He's been asking for bigger fights. Tyron McKenna, that was an impressive how he handled that. McKenna, who's kind of a domestic level guy. You could only fight who they put in front of you. Catterall will be his biggest step up and an opportunity to show his fans, his family, the last name, that he is up there with the world-class fighters. I just don't think he is. I think he gets beat. Catterall seems like a very mentally strong guy. Yeah, Catterall's world-class. So I'm staying away from the Sky Nicholson fight. I'm staying away from the Fiziev fight. I'm staying away from the Brown fight, Pat Brown. They have a kid who's on this card who's 2-0, and you could bet knockdown props on it. I'm staying away from all that. I'm not telling you not to bet on it. I'm just telling you my method this weekend. I love the knockdown prop on Jack versus Harlem. So I've gone heavy, and I've shared that with you. The thing about leveling up, guys, at the highest level, world-class boxing, timing is everything in terms of like how good of timing you have as a fighter. A lot of times that's what wins rounds. That's what separates, the levels. A guy who has a regional belt or a domestic belt versus a guy who's a world champ is the timing. That comes with, a lot of that depends on boxing acumen, understanding the scenarios in a fight, where the fight is taking place. Jack is a master at controlling the dynamic of that. He doesn't use the entire ring, but when you watch Jack fight, he never really allows, when he's at his best, he's never allowing his opponent to depict where the fight is taking place. He uses his footwork to circle out and keep the fight in the middle of the ring. Harlem is going to be the more athletic guy. What I've seen from him is he's going to be the more aggressive guy. He throws punches and bunches. But in terms of his accuracy and his timing, it's kind of like when you watch Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. The average fan, and this is no shade to the average fan, will see that fight and call it a fight of the year. They'll call it a fire fight. To be honest with you, I don't want to see Eubank versus Benn again. Only because, A, they shouldn't have taken all those shots that they took. That to see them getting hit with everything shows you a level below of world class. Ben, everything Conor throws is one speed. Everything looks alike. That shows you his level. When he levels up to a world class, he's going to get he's going to get picked apart. He's going to get countered and stopped. And it's just the facts. You can't at a world class level in boxing throw everything at the same speed and same. I think Jack is. I mean, Jack is one of the most awful decisions apart from being an undisputed world champion. Just rewatch, and it sucks that the record books don't say it, but fighting Josh Taylor when Josh Taylor was undisputed, it was insane, that decision. My point is Josh Taylor was the undisputed champion in that fight, world class in that fight, and Jack beat him. Got robbed on a decision. It's well documented. Jack has spent rounds and rounds sparring with Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez. He goes over to the U.S. and gets high-level sparring. He trains in Philly, spends time there. What I'm saying is he's learned from the best in the world. Just because he's not a knockout artist, and I'm not a huge fan of Catterall's style, but when you break down Catterall's style and dissect what he does well, I'm a fan of that. The countering, like I said, how he manages his footwork, never exits too far. He's always switched on. He has a great eye. His vision is really good. So all these little things I like. I think Eubank it's a great bet. I mean, there's flat-footed since when is being flat-footed a bad thing in boxing? It's not like we're sprinting. Think about how many world champions there are that you guys call flat-footed. It's not everybody's going to be a mover. Not everybody's going to be on their toes. So I don't use that against any fighter, especially if they're, Kelly Pavlik. I bring him up because he's my childhood, close friend. One of the best middleweights of his era, one of the greatest knockout artists in that division, flat-footed. So what I'm saying is you take what your style, you take what your athleticism, you take what your skills give you, and then you create a style around that. So flat-footed fighter is, I think, a rhetoric that's got started by somebody who was a mover somewhere along the lines, or maybe somebody who lost a bet, and people act like that's a bad thing. As long as you're using what you're good at for your style, it's not a bad thing. If you're slow, if you don't have no pop, if you're chinny and you're like a domestic guy, then yeah, that dude's flat-footed. That says more about the fighter's overall skill set than just about the one-dimensional being flat-footed. A prop I really like I said, Catterall Eubank, over 0.5 knockdowns. I've gone heavy on that prop bet. It's over 2-1 money. Yeah, but Eubank isn't a guy who's going in and out and making you pay with receipts every single time he's going in and out. So if Eubank is hard to hit, we're going to find this out. I'm leaning on. I'm no shade on Eubank. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter, but I'm breaking down, giving you my reasoning right now. All that in and out movement, I'm leaning and I'm banking on the fact that Jack is just as, equally as sharp, and his counters are going to be on point. Now, if Jack's counters aren't on point and his timing's a little bit off, he's going to have some issues with Harlem. And so I see why you guys are picking Harlem. No shade. Yeah, I'm not here to convince you guys. I'm here to tell you my reasoning on these picks. So also the Cordina fight versus Jared Gonzalez, another prop bet I'm going heavy on, is the fight to go the distance. You could, if you guys are, I know a lot of people are hesitant because you can't find tape on Jared. And that's actually, from a betting perspective, depending on how heavier you want to invest in the bet, I understand that. One side of that argument, dude, I can't find any tape on Jared. And it's true. I did the breakdown. I picked Cordina to win. I'm going to give you the two sides of that coin. I've seen a lot of experts say, I'm not betting on this fight because I can't find tape on Jared Gonzalez. Then they talk about the Mexican versus British narrative as of late. Matchroom bringing these guys from Mexico, beating, being big underdogs, the B side, and beating the Brits. I understand that if that's your reasoning. But because we can only find one fight on Jared Gonzalez, it's that first round stoppage victory from 2020. Because you can't even find analytics on him, meaning that BoxRec, so a lot of the fight stat websites will use BoxRec's metadata and just scrape it and copy it for their stats, meaning like height, reach, age, that sort of thing. You can't even find height and reach for Jared Gonzalez. The only metadata you could find on him, he's 24 years old and he's from Mexico. And that is another reason for bettors not to bet with this fight. But the other side of the coin, which is what I'm doing, is like, that's exactly why I'm taking Cordina. That's exactly why. You can't find any tape on him. He's never fought anything above an 8-rounder. He's beaten who he's supposed to beat. Identical record, 17-1 as Cordina. Cordina's a former 2-time world champion. I think Cordina's not going to struggle with him. I think he's going to handle him pretty well. And it's interesting to see, though, what both Cordina and Jack are doing, both moving up a weight class. That's something to talk about. We'll see how that goes for each guy. But if you're hesitant on the winner in Cordina versus Gonzalez, the odds for the fight to go the distance are $3.25, which I think there's a lot of value. Richard Rico, I got Harlem and Murphy. Good picks, mate. Good luck on that. Catterall is a solid pick. He should pull out the win. I favor him. Yeah, I do too. Jack, the thing about Jack's style, whenever you have a guy who doesn't really punch a lot, but he's really accurate, a lot of his fights will look closer than they really are. You know what I mean? If you're not, it depends on what you're looking at when you're watching Catterall. Is he a guy who's going to fill out an arena just with his style? No. Is he a guy who goes viral online because of his style? No. So a lot of, watching what he does really well takes a bit of an educated boxing eye to watch what he's doing with his front foot, to watch what he's doing with his feints, to watch what he's doing with sliding in and out and then countering, all that sort of stuff. Also pay attention to, it's sort of day one boxing footwork when I'm teaching new clients down here in Australia. Now, I don't teach fighters. I teach people who want to learn how to box. So I'm teaching everything from the ground up, how to turn over your punches, to footwork, to head movement, to feints over long periods of time. When you're looking at Jack, notice how when he's exiting, he never goes more than 2 steps on his exit one way or another, and that's really good. That's what I really like about Jack. He doesn't waste. When you watch Shakur, obviously world class, one of my favorite fighters, he takes a lot of heat from the average fan because on his exits, he puts himself out of position to even counter. So to talk about Stevenson, what I like to see against, when he fights Zepeda is making that adjustment. If he would have just, because they teach you exit on the exit. If you don't like where the pocket is, what's happening in the pocket, you have a couple decisions to make. You either exit 2 steps laterally, you circle left or circle right. And that 2-step kind of rule gives you an opportunity to always be in position to counter. The fight is going the distance and yeah, I like the fight to go the distance. How do you feel about over? I like the over. Statistically speaking, all these are smart bets. No, I don't think he got robbed. I thought Barboza did enough, and I think it comes down to that volume. We covered that fight. We live streamed. We did a watch party. I picked Barboza to beat Catterall. Mr. Swamp, what did I miss on that? Re-ask your question. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, happy 4th of July to you Americans. Could you like this video? It's 6:30 my time. I'm Sydney, Australia in the morning. I'm going to stay on for a while, but I don't have sparring for another hour. Did you see the weigh-ins from earlier? You can get an idea of Jarrett measures up to Cordina. I saw the photos. I saw some of the footage the Matchroom shared, and then Sky Nicholson shared some stuff of the weigh-ins too. I was actually impressed with how much bigger Catterall is than Eubank. Not a huge significant size advantage, but at least from the angles I was seeing, Catterall looked like the taller guy as well. Even though Harlem this will be his 3rd fight at 47. Eubank by Sabit. I don't think he's stopping Jack. Where does Jack go? What happens to Jack if he loses? It's a great question, Mr. Swan. It's a great question. You have to ask that question. I don't know. Because it's a new division, he's banking on the fact that, but guys, this is where the gamble would pay off. Ennis has 2 belts at 47. We know he's moving up. He's told us he's moving up. Go to YSM's YouTube, the Philly gym we always talk about. You can see the interview. So he's moving to 54. He has 2 belts. Those belts vacate. The winner of Catterall Eubank puts themselves sort of right in a good position to either fight for a title, eliminator belt, or a title. I think both fights could go the distance. If one of the fights gets stopped, it's going to be Cordina versus Gonzalez, with Cordina stopping Gonzalez. Because right now, Gonzalez's wild card is that we don't have a lot of tape on him. So the hesitation on that is telling people, the sort of hesitant bettors, it's saying, hey, we don't know what this guy's doing. We've seen what some of the Mexicans have done recently as big underdogs. I'm hesitant. But where all the money is on that, all the money is on the bettors. At least go to your book right now for Cordina to stop him. So, will the fight go the distance? No is only $1.32. Will the fight get stopped? Yes, $3.25. Toya, what's up? Welcome to the live stream. Haven't seen you on a live maybe in a week or so. Wherever you guys are, like I said, welcome. As you check in, like the video. First thing you guys do for me, if it's the only thing, check in. Jack's getting stopped. Okay. I could see it based on Harlem's volume. I don't think it's going to happen, Toya. One of the stories is fight, Eubank taller, bigger. Yeah, Eubank's not bigger. Watch the weigh-ins. Eubank isn't taller or bigger than Jack. Crocker Donovan for sure for that vacant IBF. We have to talk about Rohan Polanco too in the mix. He's the guy who gets lost in the shuffle. He's a name with Boots vacating 2 belts. You got to throw. It elevates a lot of these prospects / contenders that kind of people forget about. Whenever you have a talent such as Boots in any division, you forget everybody else. But whenever a guy like Boots leaves, you remember these names. Put an asterisk by Rohan Polanco as a name if you're unaware of him. So you think Eubank has had more fights at 47, but he's only at 3. Johnny, I'll be posting my month parlay. Yeah, History Vault. Whenever you post it, like always, and if you guys hanging around my channel, I'll repost it for you. Jack getting stopped. He doesn't like the pressure. How do you see? I don't think Eubank has the power to stop Jack, and I think Jack's timing is something that Eubank has never faced before. And I think I got to be honest with you, if anyone gets stopped, I think Jack stops Eubank, and I think it's going to be one of those things of a fighter using their bravery against them. It's kind of like what just how I saw Brian stopping Sasaki I said it was going to be one of these things where Sasaki was going to be too brave, and that style, that volume, that pressure. It's just similar why I think Zepeda is probably going to get stopped against Shakur, where you have this pressure forward style, this volume style, but they don't really sit on anything too well, and they're fighting sharp counter punchers with speed. Now, Norman, obviously, his power supersedes Shakur, and his power supersedes Jack. Neither Shakur nor Jack are big power punchers, but what they do have, what Brian has similar to them, is timing and countering, and hand speed. Exactly, he's not a knockout puncher. It's not that he doesn't have power, but sometimes in boxing, what gets you stoppages is timing and countering. So it's not all, when you watch, Jack hasn't, I don't think Jack stopped a guy since 2018. I mean, maybe 2019, the last time Jack stopped a guy, 2018 or 19, it's been a while. Yeah, no, and Toya, if you're right, I'm going to do my next live stream. I'm going to be like, Toya called it. So I'm not trying to convince you. I'm coming at from my reasoning, and I respect your reasoning. You feel that his power is going to be too much. You feel that Jack doesn't like pressure. I get all that. And the thing is, both sides of the token. We've never seen Harlem lose yet. But then again, we've never seen him step up to this competition. Look at his resume. Don't tell me Tyron McKenna is a bigger step up than Jack Catterall from Harlem. So, but then again, we haven't seen Jack stop anyone. Yeah, I got Jack beating Eubank. I rewatched highlights of Prograis against Abel. Regis was, man. People sleep on Regis. I'm a Regis fan. I still cheer. Look, just because guys lose the older they get, I always remember what they were at their best. Regis Prograis is a dog. Why are you lying about Blue Blood TV? I don't even know who that comment is, guys. I'm going to leave that one alone. Abel's gone on to get Barrios. Guys, Abel Ramos is the dude who retired Omar Figueroa. How do you rate Dalton? Mar the Prince, up until Dalton's last fight when he fought Matthew Germain. Matthew Germain was a guy who came from Canada. Matthew Germain is a guy who got stopped against... who's the kid that Teofimo Lopez fought, the Canadian kid, when Teo went down to Florida and did that sort of obscure main event 2 fights ago? His name, he's a tough fight. He has like 6 or 7 long, really tough guy. Steve Claggett. So Matthew Germain's a guy who got stopped against Claggett. Germain comes in against Dalton Smith a couple months ago, and just Dalton couldn't get him out of there. Dalton seemed disinterested. For me, the jury's still out on Dalton. I don't know if he's world level yet. I don't even know if he is world level. We'll see. Maybe he just had an off night. What's up? They love Miss Parker. My dad dated Miss Parker, if we're talking about From Friday, the actress. Her real name's Kathleen Bradley. My dad went to Homecoming. Something you don't know about me. If that name loves Miss Parker, the reference I get is from Friday. Miss Parker was played by an actress from Youngstown, Ohio named Kathleen Bradley, who was one of Bob Barker's beauties on The Price is Right. She grew up with my father in Girard, Ohio. Went to high school with him. He went to prom with her. She was a legend back then for being her natural beauty. If that is why you did your name. What other fight on the Benavidez undercard? Jermaine's boxer. He drew. Okay, then I had it twisted then. He lost or drew with Claggett. I had that twisted then. He passed away years ago, but yeah, he was a college football player. Big dude. Yeah. Yeah, so the Claggett, I cover all these fights. Sometimes I get it twisted. So the reasoning, so Jermaine drew, and so, okay, then Jermaine is a tough out. And I broke that fight down, Dalton Smith versus Jermaine. You can watch the fight prediction. I thought Dalton was going to stop him. And maybe, did you guys see the Dalton Smith, whoever asked the question, did you think he looked flat? And let me know your opinion on that. I mean, I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. Jermaine drew and beat Claggett. Okay, yeah. So I did miss that. My bad. Norman and Haney, the undercard. Okay, so we're talking about the undercard of the Benavidez card. So let's clarify who you guys are going with tomorrow. I see a lot of Eubank over Catterall, which I could see. I'm disagreeing, but it could happen. Are you guys betting on the Cordina fight? Noakes versus Mason. I love that fight. Sam Noakes versus Mason's a hell of a fight, guys. Yeah, Sam Noakes versus Mason's a hell of a fight. I'm glad both guys are fighting right now. We're gonna know a lot about. Did you guys watch the sparring? I know we talked about it yesterday. I shared it on the channel. Fight Hub or Fight Hype shared sparring, and you could take what you want of it, of Abdullah versus Schofield. Thank you. And I'm not a guy who's going to sit here and put a lot into when sparring gets leaked. I always use the Paul Spadafora versus Floyd Mayweather sparring. You never know where a guy's at. Spadafora was 10 days out from a fight. Floyd was off the couch allegedly. So if you don't know what I'm referencing, YouTube it. There's 6 rounds of Spadafora versus Floyd. When Spadafora was, I think, if you guys don't know about Paulie Spadafora, the Pittsburgh kid, he retired, I think, 49-1. Smooth southpaw, always wanted the Floyd fight, didn't get it, and got to spar him. A lot of Schofield haters. I mean, you can take what you want of it. Some guys, Mason's what I mean by levels. Yeah, it's going to come down to, and we know, hopefully Mason versus Floyd fight in a couple years, just because both guys are so young right now, 22 and 21. I'd like to see both guys still kind of, and watching Floyd stop Tevin like that sort of expedites his growth to the world level. He has a world champion on his resume now that like Tevin, who's world class, even, disregard all the losses. Nobody saw that coming. You beat Tevin like that, you're in the conversation now. Abdullah's still looking for that win. He just hasn't got them. Their trajectory is a bit different. And hats off to Schofield Sr. for how he's managed the career because, all in all, it's playing out perfectly. Mason and Noakes, the odds for that fight are a little too. So Mason's a big favorite. Mate, don't underestimate Sam Noakes. Sam Noakes can box. That's a great fight. And Abdullah, he wants all the smoke. Abdullah, for a style, like if there was somebody who came to me and was like, Johnny, I'm new to boxing. Who are some of the young fighters I should watch? I would say watch Abdullah Mason. He's young. He has future world champion all over him in multiple divisions. He might end up fighting. I'm not going to give unfair comparisons and unwanted pressure, but we have to remember. Look what Bud's about to fight Canelo at 68. Bud went from 35, 40 undisputed, 47 undisputed. 54 beat Madrimov, 4 division world champion. In terms of Abdullah's physique and how long he is, and like lengthwise, I could see we could be watching a 21-year-old who could be a 4 division world champion before it's all said and done. See how his body fills out. But 35, 40, 47, and even 54 doesn't seem like too far off. A lot of boots in Abdullah style. And it's fan friendly. The thing that I feel Abdullah is going to keep adding to his game is a little bit of, watch James Toney when Toney fought at 160 and, even all the way through his career. But in my opinion, my favorite James Toney was 60 and 68. The fights against Michael Nunn, if you don't know who that is, one of the greatest fighters of his era who lost his prime to prison. But second to none, Michael Nunn. The way Toney's natural style, he'd fight you in the pocket, but how defensive-minded he would be in the pocket. Abdullah fights you in the pocket, but he needs to develop that sort of defensive acumen, how to protect himself in the pocket. And I think that's going to come with time. That comes with a lot of sparring. It's been well documented. Toney was a guy who sparred legendary amounts of rounds preparing for fights. And, the downside of that is if you don't give your brain time to recover, it's unfortunate. It's sad when you watch Toney talk now. He's had a lot of headshots, and you could see the damage in his voice, which is sad. That's the dark side of boxing nobody ever talks about. But my point is, James Toney was one of my favorite fighters of all time because of that style. I got Zoo knockout over Fedor. I don't know, man. I live in Sydney, and I always talk about. I had Tim winning. I picked Tim winning the first one. I think a lot changes with a guy. When how the Fedor, think about the risk he took fighting Murtazaev off of that Fedor fight. You know what I mean? That aura, and then seeing him get stopped like that. Like I said, I don't know if he beats Fedor in the rematch. I don't know. Fedor is still growing, still developing. We're watching Seb Fedor evolve in real time. This is a kid who people still will judge him for that Brian Mendoza, his blemish. But Mendoza, dude, he's a hell of a fighter. And he was a younger version then. He wasn't, the version of Fedora now is a world champion, confident. I still, we talk about taller fighters. I still want to see him do his exits here. Taller fighters kind of come here just out of instinct because they could get away with it. And if you have seen Tim Zoo's training, I like what I'm seeing. Like, go to Tim Zoo's Instagram. He's put up a couple videos of just him doing pad work, but I'm already seeing adjustments in, he'll throw the combo and he slides out. Before he would throw the combo and lean in. So if you wanted to, I'm actually seeing Tim, at least on the pads, anyone could look good on the pads, make adjustments. And I disagree. People were like, Tim was winning the fight before the cut. Rewatch it. The cut happened at the end of the second round. I I didn't see, he wasn't blowing Fedor out. Like I just rewatched. I've watched that fight. It'll take you 5.5 minutes to watch what I'm talking about. This weird narrative that Tim was winning before the fight was only in the second round. If that's the case, how many first rounds did Floyd give away? I'm just debating the narrative. How many first rounds does Tank give away? My point is to judge a potential outcome based on what ifs is insane. People are saying if the cut never happened, Tim was blowing Seb out. We could have. I don't think so. It wasn't. He wasn't winning that significantly. He was getting hit a lot. Seb was getting touched, and Seb. It wasn't. That's a weird. I think that's a false narrative. He was scared to engage with him before the cut. Scared. How? So you're saying one of these guys was in the ring scared, or was he figuring out his range? I got Zoo stuff. I don't know, man. I think Zoo gets stopped, dude. That's not my official prediction. It's not my official prediction. But I watch a lot, I've watched Tim fight since he turned pro in 16. I was at the Tony Harrison fight ringside. I was at a lot of his earlier fights in 18 and 19. I live right near the arena here in Sydney. I'm just basing off of the energy around. You lose something, mate. You lose something when you lose that aura of invincibility as a person, as a fighter. We're going to see a lot. I mean, he did fight Joey Spencer the same exact way that he fought Murtazaev, and this is why he's beloved. He's a brave fighter, but at the world level, it's important for a fighter to make adjustments. It's happening like the live and show my love. Rich Blackman, what's up? Always supporting the channel. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, ladies, we got some ladies on the live stream. Ladies know boxing too. I welcome it. It's awesome to get both perspectives. Also, not agreeing with me on the Catterall Eubank. I love that. This isn't an echo chamber. The last thing I ever want to do is create a space where we're all agreeing. I like the back and forth. Like this video if you can. Cut creator, what's up, buddy? Fedor jab. I think so. Fedor's jab, and you can't ever sort of downplay punching down. You know what I mean? Like just straight up physics. Him having that advantage. He got stopped worse than Tim and took more damage in his life. You think that his stoppage 4 years ago was worse than what Murtazaev did to him? I don't know, man. But what happened after the stoppage? Who has the belt around their waist? There's a game plan. Both have. It's going to come down to what Tim chooses to do. Are we really expecting Tim to have a different game plan? He thinks he's just going to run over Seb? I don't know, man. We'll see. I don't know. It could happen. And I'm not giving my official prediction. I just would slow sort of down thinking Tim is going to watch Seb. This is a kid who, like I said, man, they built a farm, the Fedoras. This is a fighting family. That matters in terms of that kid eats, sleeps, breathes, lives boxing. Gabby Fedora, his sister, one of my favorite. She is my favorite female fighter. I love watching Gabby fight. She does things. She's evolved her game in terms of same style as her brother because the physical frame, but Gabby could punch, and she's a great it's definitely it's going to be a good fight. What I was saying is the trajectory of punches versus coming on a straight plane or punching up versus punching down, and then you mix in look at the success Tommy Hearns had when he was fighting before he was moving up because of his frame. Think about Kelly Pavlik as well, the frame. Think about tall, lean fighters. A lot of them are knockout artists, Not necessarily because they're the strongest, but because of the physics of the punch, the whipping action, the torque, here, 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 here. When you're punching down, you create a sort of like a torque to it. It just the young kids say it hits differently. It hits differently. And I think as Seb matures, he's going to continue to develop that. I expect Seb to have more knockouts as he goes along his career. Still young. And it's a fun fight to watch. I'm glad they're rematching it. I want to see how this plays out for sure. Am I saying that Seb's going to beat Tim for sure? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm not going to sit here and say Tim's going to go in that fight and win. Tim couldn't miss with the right. I think with a full camp actually training for Fundora, he'll get him out of there. So you think Fundora's just going to stand right in front of him? He fights small. He bends his knees when he punches. Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're 6'5" to fight small, though. But I think a lot of these things, are we basing just, so the Tim fans are just basing some Seb Fundora not to change his style at all, not to add elements to his game. I referenced that, the Fight family living on, his gym is on his property. There's a younger Fundora now. We know there's Gabby. The mom was a boxer. I reference that as they're always working on things. These are two fighters, Gabby and Seb, that you got to expect with each fight they're going to add stuff to their game, small things, and in relation to fixing on things. Do you think Fundora's right at that weight? I think right now the weight suits him. I don't subscribe to the narrative because somebody's taller they're weight bullying. He's not that big. He's just tall. He's not big for 54. He's not like a guy walking around at 190. Errol walks, dude. Errol was walking at 80, 185, 190, and cutting to 47. Errol's fought his whole career at 47. So guys, there's guys who cut a lot. So Seb's not walking around at 95. He's not walking around at 200 pounds. He doesn't, it's just his tall, lanky frame. I don't even know if the guy could put on, in terms of his metabolism and his genetics and his height, he probably struggles to put on weight. It's a good question though. It definitely has premise to talk about. But if he was a guy that you see him stripped a lot of weight, then that's a conversation we'd be having. And then you'd have to talk about durability, because we know guys who cut a lot of weight, historically, when they get touched once, they become less durable. The weight cut drains you. The weight cut makes the brain less durable. So yeah, it would be a valid conversation. I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen him in between fights blowing out and looking huge. Michael Fox is 6'3" and makes 50. No, Michael Fox is 6'3" and fights at 47. He's not at 54, right? I thought Fox fought at 47 and signed to fight Boacek at 54, and Boacek came in at 59, and Fox made 54. I'm pretty sure Fox fought his whole career at 47. Tim Tszyu will have to make constant adjustments. Seb's style is pretty clear cut. Yeah. Yeah, both fun styles. I haven't really seen Tszyu make many adjustments in fights. That's my biggest beef with him. Go to my prediction of Murtazaev versus Tszyu. Even though I picked Tszyu to win, I brought that up. Has he been at 54? Okay. I thought he was a 47 guy for the past couple fights. I know that Michael's been down in Sydney. Good, whoever brought him up. Michael's been down here sparring with Tim. Tim brought in Fox as a sparring partner. Why did I think Fox was a 47? No, I was right. He fought his whole career at 47, mate. He never fought at 54. Yeah, he came in overweight against Alvarez. Yeah, Michael Fox fought his entire career at 40, went up to 47, missed weight once. Yeah, his first scheduled fight at 54 was his last fight. I knew I was right. Come on now. Stop making me second guess myself. But I appreciate you, Mar. But yeah, and Michael's a fun fighter. It's just a boxer. You can't have everything. You know what I mean? You look at Michael. Imagine if Michael had Hagler's pop or Tommy Hearns' pop, because he has the frame. It's just Hearns, dude, the Motor City Cobra. That's why he's a generational talent. That's why he's a legend in the game. You can't have everything, but every now and then fighters come around and they have everything. God damn, that was an insane era. Duran, Hearns, Hagler, Ray. And then right there you had in the lighter weight classes, Aaron Pryor, Boom Boom Mancini. And I'm missing names. But just off the top, god damn, that was a fun era. 15 rounders. The boys just fucking standing and trading. The volume, the conditioning, Kronk boxing. That's an era that another time when I get newer clients, newer boxing clients, I just got one, a newer guy. He's like 27. He works in finance here in Sydney. Comes to my gym here at my house. And, you know, I'm teaching him how to box. And, you know, he'll ask me who to watch. And every now and then I'll send him like old Sugar Ray Leonard for, you know, what he would do with his, you know, how he moved. Or like how Tommy Hearns would sit on things and how he'd throw punches. Hearns would knock you out moving backwards. And then Hagler's conditioning, dude, Hagler's chin. People always talk about Triple G's chin and Canelo's chin, rightfully so. Watch Marvin Hagler, mate. I would put Marvin Hagler's chin up there as one of the best chins in boxing history. Hagler had this, so on our skulls, right here, there's a muscle. Mine's tiny, but Hagler had, his muscles here were like this. His insane softballs on his shoulders. I still think he beat Ray in his last fight. He lost it, and then he retired and moved to Italy to become a movie star. But yeah, that era was insane. I was a little boy. I was in... Hagler been down. G never been down. Hold on. I don't think that... Are we calling that a knockdown? Are we forgetting the controversy with that? I don't think... Am I missing something? Did he get dropped, or was my memory, or was that kind of like how people say Bud got dropped against Mean Machine? I'd have to look into that. Even if he did, even if that was he got dropped, when you take into consideration who he fought, how he fought, his style, I still put him up there with one of the greatest chins in boxing history. I don't think he got dropped either. I think you're talking about when I think he slipped. Jack got dropped, but did he really? What's up, Tipkin in the house? Well, Jack, are we talking about, you talking about Catterall? Guys, the chat's opening up here in terms of, you know, we're starting to get a little bit of Wild West, which is great. Yeah, Regis, great fighter. People sleep on Regis. Watch Regis, you know, a couple years ago. Yeah, he slipped. Watch it. Rewatch that. Even, like I said, it was ruled a knockdown. It wasn't a knockdown. If you guys are just tuning in now and have questions about Catterall and the Cordina fight, you could ask them. Currently, we're talking about the best chins in boxing. But guys, we could go back to George Chuvalo. You know, I don't know how far your boxing history goes back, but YouTube a guy named George Chuvalo, a heavyweight. And there's a lot of guys from the era before, who something was in the water then. You'd have to hit them with a goddamn fire extinguisher. Foreman. Yeah, that era, you know, that era of heavyweights was insane too. Who's slipping my mind? What's the kid's name who fought Foreman when Foreman was older? George Cooney, another guy people forget about. People forget how good of a heavyweight George Cooney was. That dude was a savage, man. Look at his fights. Watch how he used to fight. George Cooney was a goddamn beast. But if you're like, I'm a full nerd of the sport. I don't know who, like, my favorite fighter fought in the 30s and 40s. Henry Armstrong. His nickname was Homicide Hank. Let's go to Homicide Hank's box rec. You ready for some stats, dude? Henry Armstrong's stats are insane. How many weight classes Armstrong fought in, all the way up winning world titles, it was insane. And his nickname, Homicide Hank. Come on. So Henry Armstrong, the only boxer ever that wasn't updated. At the time, he was the only boxer ever to win world championships at featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight at the time. This was, he fought his era. He passed away in 1988. His first fight. Armstrong retired with a record of 149 wins, 99 knockouts. He had 21 losses and he got stopped twice. But he started at 130 pounds. Fought everybody, dude. It's insane. I want to know how you feel about Sam Goodman as a fighter. Teach, what's up, buddy? Great question. I've seen Sammy Boy fight a lot live. I remember the interesting thing about Sam Goodman that when people ask me, I have to bring up. He has a traveling cheering section with him. The Wild Bunch, I think they're called. I mean, that in itself is pretty awesome. You don't see that every day. You don't see that even very, very famous world champions. Love Steve Collins, Irish Steve Collins, great fighter. People forget about him. But Sam Goodman has a traveling cheering section in all of his fights called the Wild Bunch. I just watched his fight against Cesar Vaca. I was at that fight. Great boxer. I don't like the fact that he's moving up to 26. I don't like that fact. David Tua. How do I forget about that? Watch the David Tua Ike Ibeabuchi fight. David Tua Ruiz. David Tua is I talk about him once a week. David Tua is one of my favorite fighters. New Zealand, Kiwi. Dude, what a stud that guy was. I don't think he ever became a full world champion, which is insane. You guys could, I need somebody live fact checking me, and if I'm wrong, I admit. I don't know if Tua ever actually became full world champion. I think he might have had like the IBO belt, but not being really recognized. Yeah, I want to see him in any way. Because Sam is taking a fight at 26. Goodman is fighting not Nick Ball. Is it Nick Ball? Is Sam Goodman fighting Nick Ball? I think so. I think Sam is moving up to 26, and I don't like that move. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, yeah, Sam's undefeated. Oh, you're talking about Tua. Never been. Yeah, Tua's legendary power. Follow his Instagram. He still trains, still hits the heavy bags. Really deep connected with his faith. Always sharing, religious quotes. Very grateful guy. Still lives the boxing life, training, hitting the heavy bag, powerlifting. Super, super cool cat. One of the legends in the heavyweight division. That's another, his era. I mean, there were some killers in there that a lot of these names people forget about because of the one big name in that era. A couple big names. People remember Mike, people remember Evander, people remember Lennox Lewis. But then, like you said, David Tua, Ruiz, Ike Ibeabuchi. I brought him up before. If you don't know who that is, YouTube him. YouTube some Ike Ibeabuchi fights. He just spent 20 years in prison for an insane incident that happened in a Vegas hotel room right when he was positioning himself for a huge fight. Just got out of prison. I think he's 54, maybe 55, and I think he might have had a fight recently, or I know he still wants to fight, but it happens in our sport all too often. I brought up Michael Nunn earlier, second to none Michael Nunn, an amazing fighter. I think he came out of Iowa. He lost his prime in prison. Tyson lost 3 years. What's up, Gucci? TJ in the house. What's up? TJ, I need to hear some of your props, buddy. Cordina and Catterall, those two fights, TJ, I'm putting you on the spot. Give me your locks, buddy. Give me your locks. I need your locks for the Catterall fight, maybe a prop, and a prop for the Cordina fight. I want to hear it. Because I've been hearing mixed bags all around. I already invested. My money's already on the table. But I want to hear your opinion. If you're just tuning in now, we're talking, we've navigated our way to 90s heavyweight boxing. Yeah, he's fighting Sam Goodman at 22. I know. I mean, Goodman's world ranked. I think Goodman's ranked number 1 in the world at 22, obviously, because the champ isn't ranked. And he's a good boxer. To say he doesn't have pop is an understatement. He doesn't. He's just, some guys just don't have crack. Some guys just don't crack. It's power is a funny thing. Some guys either have it or they don't. I mean, you can develop technique but he's a smart boxer. He does a lot of things really well. He's coming off the Cesar Vaca win. We covered that fight. I was at that fight. Cesar Vaca at the weigh-in. Google this. Google Cesar Vaca boxer. He goes like this at the weigh-in. He has the MS-13 tattoos on his knuckles, and he was bragging about it down here in Australia. Ball just fought Rios 26 filled with talent. Where's Shushu? Where is Carrington? Yeah, I mean, Shushu is on. Shushu's fighting in 2 weeks. Carrington's fighting in 2 weeks. You know, he beat my boy Dana Colwell 2 fights ago, and then Carrington had another fight after Colwell, and now he's fighting on the undercard, I think, in New York. He's another Brownsville guy. Brownsville, New York. Tyson, Shannon Briggs, other fighters. I'm missing guys. But yeah, Carrington's a dog. I'm a fan of him. Have you looked into Kurbanov? Kurbanov's fighting, right? It's Worth Robinson crumbs on Kurbanov. Yeah, I'm not getting... What's up, Simon? He's asking about Kurbanov. Yeah, I'm not getting options. I can't bet on that fight. Yeah, we know historically some of the matchups. I'm going to be diplomatic when I say this with Top Rank. But I think, just because he's fighting, guys, I wouldn't say, TJ, that he doesn't want to fight. Yeah, 80-1 favorite. I mean, I don't think Carrington's ducking anybody. You know what I mean? I don't think it's the case. I'm pretty... That guy seems like the type of fighter who would fight anyone. So I get where you're coming from. It's time to step up. All right, mate. What is he, 29? I think he missed a couple years in his 20s. I think it's well documented that it's not that he came to the sport late. He took a couple years off, I think. I think, unfortunately, he might have lost his brother to a violent crime, and that affected him. But I think it is time. Especially, I would put him up there in the upper echelon. You can't mention Inoue all last year, then fight this guy. Everybody mentions Inoue, though. And you know, come on, he's not the only guy. He's not everyone's mentioning Inoue, though. You know, it's not like contracts were sent. I see where you're coming from. I mean, you know, my guy 26, Rafa Espinoza. You know, 20, Rafa Espinoza that style of 26 is insane. Is Berlanga a plastic gangster? I think Berlanga's Berlanga. Are we talking in the ring or in the streets? I mean, like, it's a great question. You know, I'm siding with Berlanga to beat Shiraz, but you guys have put a lot of doubt. I feel Teo is ducking. Who's Teo ducking? I feel Teo has a lot of issues he needs to come to terms with. Outside of the ring, he's a frustrating one too. It's whenever you invest, and I'm not like I'm a fan of the sport. My love of the sport supersedes and has always superseded any one fighter. But I can only imagine being Teofimo Lopez fans. You have to be. I don't know who he's ducking. I'm just talking about. He's authentic. He is who he is. His fans love him for that. Controversial, polarizing. Sometimes I feel like he's planning everything. Sometimes I'm like, dude, this dude's a mad genius. And sometimes I feel like he's a little boy just, reacting impulsively on the run. So I still don't know I don't get a good judge on him yet about here. You know what I'm saying? I was impressed with his win over ABJ. I had ABJ winning that fight. I picked Barbosa. And, mate, Teofimo Lopez, you could watch 5 Teofimo Lopez fights and see 5 different Teofimo Lopez's. It's wild that the lack of promotion with the skills, it's wild. It's a valid point. And I wonder how much of that, though, is certain people with money don't want to deal with what comes along with them. And I don't know this, and we've seen videos of his dad getting in fights at gyms when they were younger. Wasn't it Keyshawn? Like, so when you deal with business, and I've learned this along with my life doing, being involved with a couple startups, having investors invest for documentaries. What I've learned is doing business with someone on any level, part of that successful equation is the willingness and wanting to do business with this person. So with Teofimo Lopez, when you're doing business with him, he kind of brings baggage to the game, to the table. You don't know what you're going to get. He says some crazy stuff. And it's unfortunate because what you see in the ring when he's at his best, Jesus Christ, is he a joy to watch. When Teo is cooking, mate, come on. It's undeniable. So anybody to judge him on his boxing, if anything, you would say you want him to be more. You'd like to see him be more consistent in terms of, you know, I don't know. There's been some performances, and this isn't controversial, where you're kind of scratching your head a bit. So that's all I have to say about that. Shiraz hasn't shown me anything to. I got Ed beating Shiraz. He definitely got beat against Carlos, a 147 guy. I mean, Carlos, small 160. Carlos, small 160. But Shiraz, I don't like how he keeps his chin in the air. I don't like how leaky his defense is. I don't think he's comfortable in the pocket. I don't think Shiraz is who he thinks he is in the pocket. If Shiraz, like, even his best, what's Shiraz's best win? Ammo? And you watch that fight, and we talk about this. Ammo could easily be fighting at 47. I love watching Ammo Williams fight. Even in his last fight against Patrice Volney, I thought Volney could have edged that fight, even though I won money on Ammo. I think Ammo's fighting in the wrong weight class. He's only like 5'10", and he's fighting at 60. And I mean, I think, you know, he has like that frame Arrow has. And like, it's weird. Maybe I'm off on this. When I think of Errol Spence Jr., I think of Southpaw. I think of Ammo Williams, and then I think of Truck Simpson. In terms of, like, if we were to do like one of those pictures, how it shows like 3 different people morphing into one of them, or starting at a point and fading out. When you think of like a Southpaw, when you think about a Southpaw who you know works the body puncher. And that's kind of the I'd like to see Ammo fight at 54, I think. I don't think 60 is the right weight class for him. But he's fun. Even that, watching how Shiraz versus Ammo, he got, you know, stopped late. But Shiraz was getting touched up. Yeah, I think Berlanga stops him. Yeah. And, no one talks about his hand speed. Everyone talks about his personality. He has great hands for 68 and good power. And he's gonna be in there mean. He's another guy. What you see is what you get. Boxing's filled with characters like this. This is why I'm a fan of him. Edgar Berlanga is good for the sport. Everything that comes along with him, he's good for the sport. Ammo got some good wins at middleweight, 54. TJ, do you think Ammo is right at 60? Tipkin, I agree with you. And that I don't think Shiraz is that dude. I don't think Shiraz psychologically is going to keep it together. It's hard for me to see Hamza Shiraz coming into New York and beating Edgar. Sometimes, if we have to visualize that, can we see Berlanga getting stopped in New York? Because that's what Shiraz fans are saying. That's what Turkey wants to see. Turkey wants to see that. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, we're about an hour in. I'm going to keep this going for a little bit longer. I have to go spar in 30 minutes. So I'm going to leave my house probably in 15. I'm going to keep this on at least 15. Like this video. We got fights coming up in the UK. We have a huge, huge month coming up. Yeah, Soda. I'm your Canelo. I talked about it yesterday. If you go to DAZN YouTube, guys, if you're not aware of what we're talking about, you can see this interview that Shiraz and Berlanga had. And Shiraz's reaction, he was like, what are you talking about? Berlanga was like, I'm your Canelo. He's like, what do you think? He didn't understand what he was saying. Talk about a big brother move. I'm your Canelo. I found that hilarious. I found that really telling, too, the body language. Because you could tell Berlanga, you know, he has a switch. Meaning, like, he has that switch. You can see it. He'll clown. Then he takes things personal. He gets a little emotional. You know, he acts chill. He tries to come to the table, like, you know, chill, smooth. Like, kind of like the dude I used to buy weed from in college. My dude. And then, like, I remember I used to get weed from this dude my first year of college, and he was the chillest dude. We called him Grimy Mike. He was from Buffalo. He ended up getting sent to prison for 20 years because somebody robbed Grimy Mike, and then Mike found out, and then he murked him. He found him and then shot him. But Grimy Mike was the coolest cat. I don't even think he went to at our college. He would just be at our college. Always wore a Bills jersey, and it was the chillest cat. And then one time we're at the club, he would hold the block down. He would never go into the club, never drink. He would just post up outside of the club where we would either be walking in or coming out, and he would call it holding the block down. Holding the block down is, you know, just waiting for cats to come and go, selling some dime bags. I saw him fight once. And dude just had this switch change. I had never seen it just turn into a savage. I'm like, damn. Like, it was insane to see him go from the grimy Mike I knew to a dude with hands, aggressive. I was like, holy don't fuck with grimy Mike, boy. And I think Berlanga has a little bit of that in him. You know, he has that's the switch that when you see it in person, even if it's not in a boxing match, you could kind of identify it in other areas. He came, well, we called him grimy because he always had the same jersey on. His dime bags would be like 0.6. I'll be like, Mike, I got a scale. You're supposed to be a gram. It's 0.6. They'd have rocks and stems in them. His weed we call Youngstown Brown. So yeah, my one semester I went to Youngstown State University. It was like 20 minutes from my mom's house, and then I transferred to University of Pittsburgh. But that one semester, Youngstown Brown weed, I swear he'd put little rocks in his weed bag too to get the weight up on his grams. But you would weigh his gram bags, it'd be 0.6. That's why we called him Grimy Mike. And then you found out he had hands. And like I said, on Christmas break one time, he just never came back. And, you know, rumor was he got robbed and then found the dude and murked him. And then he got sent up the way for 20 years. He should be out. I should check on him. Hopefully he's still alive. But anyway, my point is Berlanga got a switch. That mental switch. I don't think Shiraz has that switch. I don't think Shiraz, even like seeing in between rounds against Adames, him in his corner, kind of searching for answers. You know, I don't like to see that body language. He broke his hand. If anything, people are like he had a hand injury. Fighters are the best poker players because you break your hand, you're not gonna tell people you broke your hand. You want to hide that. So that uncomfortableness in the mid rounds, he was seeking answers against Adames because Adames started slow. You know, those first few rounds, part of it was a good game plan. You know, I'd like to see Adames have a little more volume. Here we go. Yeah, I was waiting for it, Money Meech. Every time the white man started talking about boxing, Rocky Marciano. Let me tell you once and for all, Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit. Every time we start talking about boxing, somebody has to bring up Andy Lee. Andy Lee's the traitor. You guys did it with Joseph Parker. You guys did it with Ben Whitaker. I ain't buying the whole, and he got Andy Lee in his corner. I ain't buying it. He's a good trainer, but I ain't buying it. The barbershop scene, classic. Big money moved the Shiraz line this morning, all on the books. TJ, is Ed still an underdog? Or who's the favorite now? Let me just check. That's they won. Edgar plus 115. So Vegas is loving. I'm not seeing it. My book's terrible. It only sports bet at least only lets me see it a week in advance. Yeah, I'm not. What are these? All serious books have Edgar as the dog. That's insane. TJ? Who do you like in that? TJ? Maybe a knockdown prop. I could see one of those boys getting knocked down. Yeah, it's not even letting me see it right now. And all you degenerates gambling, there's an NFL is starts. There's a July game this year. I posted that in the chat. I know a lot of people bet on American football. Yeah, I'm not seeing the odds right now. 172. Wow, Berlanga. See, down here, he's still the favorite. Hamza isn't that guy at all to me. Yeah, down here, Edgar is $1.72. 100 on him gets you 72, and Shiraz is 225. 100 gets you your money back plus 125. Yeah, so I think it's the same. I think that's what 115 means. You get your money back plus. No, you're saying Edgar is the underdog on your books. That's weird. He's the favorite down here. Shiraz admitted he's a quitter. Yeah, I don't like the psychology. Like I think this is one. What if you guys are torn? Watch the interview. Watch the face to face. I'm your Canelo. I love it. I love what he also said that you know he told him straight. Edgar told him straight to his face. Okay, nice, DJ. That's what. All right, brother. I like your style. Me too. I do all my best with money lines. Edgar told him right to his face that he didn't want this fight. That he knows that Shiraz was forced to fight him because of Turkey. He said he was forced to fight him. I'm your Canelo. What a great line. What a great line. Yeah, I think Turkey is. I don't know. How you boys feel about Turkey? I don't like some of the reckless stuff he says about boxing from a dude who doesn't know shit about the sport. Sorry. You can tell he doesn't know anything about boxing. You can tell he doesn't know this history. You can tell he's never been punched in the face before. You can tell he's never punched before. Just when, all you have to, I always, when I see promoters on any level take photos with their fighters and they go, they do that one, everyone does that one. And look at it with fans too. I have big hands, and you see the promoter and their hands like that big and like they're making the fist like this. And I'm like, dude, this guy's, we know what he's doing, sports washing. We know about this. I brought this up on 2 live streams ago. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Google what sports washing is. The Saudis are doing it across all sectors. They're doing it with F1. They did it with the LIV golf. They're doing it with art right now. MBS just built this massive tourist area in Saudi with like lost world art. Is okay, but when you try to dictate, that's what I'm saying, mate. DJ, that's what, dude. What are you doing? Like that's irreverent, and he thinks he's slick, and he's banking on Shiraz. He's banking on Shiraz to be the poster boy for his brand. Well, Fresh BX, I'm gonna push back on that. If Fresh BX, that has nothing to do with that. That is a cultural norm in the Middle East. So if you ever go to the UAE, so like if you ever go to Qatar, Saudi, Riyadh, if you ever go to Dubai, it's a sign like whatever neighborhood you grew up in. What's up, homie? That one, or fist bumping, holding hands is a sign. It goes back thousands of years. So that's just odd for a Westerner. When you see that for the first time, you're like, I ain't holding hands with a grown ass man. I ain't about to hold hands with a grown ass man. But it's a cultural norm. It has nothing to do. Yeah. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care where I'm at. I ain't about to call another grown man delicious. Same. Super Middle Lester is a sleeper. Yep. He's fighting soon. Osley Iglesias. Yep. TJ, I kind of put both guys in the Bruce Carrington conversation in terms of your pushback. We need a step up. Let's see a step up. But I see in terms of potential, hell yeah, especially in a division that, it's open for, there's going to be a lot of turnover in the next few years with a lot of the old guard changing and opportunities for younger fighters to make a name for themselves. And I think the way we predict that as fans, analysts, bettors is you got to look at guys' styles and you have to play in the fact of the importance and relevance of going viral. Some old heads, like my dad's rolling over in his grave because he doesn't even know what I'm talking about. If going viral has never been a thing. But in terms of fight styles and the importance of what that means for the trajectory of a guy's career at this day and age, it matters. It definitely matters. People you're gonna have to make the people want to see you fight. And so, Canelo's up there in age. Bud's, it's no secret, Bud is up there in age. Usyk, Better Biev, Bivol, I think, is 35. There's going to be a lot of changing over, turning over the guard. And, there's names like Iglesias and Lester Martinez and Shushu Carrington. It's opening the doors for a whole new generation of guys to, put their mark on a division. And I think style is going to matter more than anything in terms of, I think the viral element of it is because look at all the pushback from the people who really, see boxing just as in knockouts, the pushback from defensive-minded fighters, currently. And how fan bases turn on fighters. Think about how many people turn. I'm talking fanboys turn on Tank for having a draw against Roach. You lose fans in this day and age for a loss, let alone a draw. Rather than a tweet. You could go on a racial Twitter tirade. You could go on an anti-Semitic racial Twitter tirade, political, and not lose fans in this day and age. But you could go into the fight, a blood sport, and do something that less than 0.09% of the world has ever done, and that's perform under the lights in a crowded arena, and you lose fans for that. That's insane because they don't like how you fought. Freaking insane. That's why I don't bash fighters. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. Fingers crossed. I want to see TJ's picks. TJ, if you message me or email me, and you want me to post them, I'll do that. All right, perfect. Good, I like it. And if you want me to feature your bets, go to the post section and just type them out, and then I'll screenshot them. I've been doing a lot lately for some of you guys, and I know you find value in that. And we'll get to Zayas and Chino tomorrow. There's a lot to talk about. My locks right now, like I said, my biggest money props, I'm going to end the stream on this, is I've gone heavy with over 0.5 knockdowns in Catterall versus Eubank. I'm rolling the dice. I'm sitting with it. I could see someone getting countered or somebody getting overwhelmed. Either way, I went heavy on a knockdown there. And then the Cordina versus Gonzalez fight to go the distance. That's another bet. The odds are just really good on that. All right, guys, wherever you are, happy 4th of July. Stay safe. Good luck. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and the fights will already be over. Stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't already, like it, subscribe it, hit the bell so you can be notified, and let's get this money.